Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike McGarry, Senior VP of Venture Acceleration at Matter. Thanks for joining us. Fidel, good to see you. It looked like I know we exchanged some emails yesterday, so glad you could join us. Welcome others. Uh, Really informal session today. We got a few slides we're going to run through, which will just give you a sort of a high-level overview of who Matter is and what we do. And then we should have plenty of time for Q&A, and feel free to ask, questions specifically about your business. If it's a good fit for Matter, happy to address those questions. But just give me about, 10 minutes. We'll just kind of run through the high level and then uh, go to some Q&A. Matter is a nonprofit health tech accelerator based in Chicago. Our mission is to accelerate the pace of change of healthcare. We are exclusive to healthcare. There's, I know a lot of accelerators and incubators out there that span multiple industries. Everything we do is centered on health and healthcare. Our core belief is really about collaboration between entrepreneurs, industry leaders is the most effective way to accelerate innovation. Not only is it the most effective way, maybe if I introduce a little bit of my personal beliefs, I think it's the only way. The complexities of building a product, launching a product within healthcare is really about building deeper relationships, is really about understanding the overall ecosystem, and you can't do that alone. And so, first and foremost, I think, when people ask me what is Matter, Matter is a community of entrepreneurs, community of investors, community of industry stakeholders, health system executives, payer organizations, service organizations, legal companies, banking organizations, privacy and data security. We really work to bring together a really diverse community to support you as entrepreneurs in building your business. Our model, we're going to focus on startup incubation through most of the conversation today, but just want you to be familiar with Matter overall. I talked about the community nexus, really. That's, first and foremost, Matter is a community. We also do have our corporate innovation or corporate partnership team. We work with large corporate partners. Examples could be large pharma companies, groups like AbbVie, large foundations, groups like the American Heart Association. And then we also have a contract with a large government entity, BARDA, the Biomedical Advanced Research Development Agency. With those corporate partners, we run accelerators on their behalf. Accelerators are very topic specific. So the recent one we did with BARDA was on traumatic brain injury. If and when your company is a good fit for those accelerators, they are phenomenal programs. They're funded by the corporate partner, so they're free for companies to participate. The flip side of it, though, is they're very topic specific, very specific on a single problem statement, and they're highly competitive. We had, I think we broke a record, but for the American Heart Association accelerator we just ran, I think we had just over 340 applicants for about 10 spots. So they are great, and they're not mutually exclusive to the startup incubation program that we run. That's the program that I lead with our team. The incubation, so whereas the corporate partnership, corporate accelerator, or the accelerator programs are very problem statement specific and also time bound. They're usually 10 to 12 week programs, follow a very familiar accelerator model to the extent you're familiar with those. 10 to 12 weeks, connect you with a lot of resources, and at the end there's a pitch day or a showcase where one or two companies are selected as the winner. Switching gears now to the startup incubation program, we run it's a membership model. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail. To be very clear, we're not a fund. We don't directly invest in, nor do we take equity in the companies that we work with. On average, we work with companies for about 28 months, so a little over 2 years, and really work to support you on that longitudinal journey as you grow. As you grow, what you need, the resources you need to get connected to, mentorship and advisory services are going to change and evolve as you change and evolve as a company. And so that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of the presentation here. We're one of the largest communities of incubator accelerator programs. I believe we're one of the largest, or if not the largest, focused specifically on healthcare. Just a quick snapshot of what that looks like. We launched about 11 years ago. In that time frame, we've supported well over 1,000 startups. We work with well over 100 industry leading hospitals and universities. the companies we've supported have been really successful. Over $5 billion in capital raised. If you look at the right-hand side, gives you a little glance of kind of the types of the demographics, if you will, the companies that we've worked with. Pretty heavy focus on digital health. We don't have any requirements, we as Matter, so I think it's more a reflection of what the industry, kind of what's hot in the industry. So about 65% digital health companies, about 20% life science companies, 10% services companies, 5% consumer and others. When you look at the portfolio of companies we have, it's everything from supply chain management to bespoke cancer care to diabetes self-care management, rev cycle efficiency. So we really support a broad brushstroke of companies in the industry. When you look at the partners that we look like, pretty even mix, but a little biased towards providers and healthcare, life sciences organizations, 20% associations, 15% payers, and then a good mix of universities as well. Many of them, definitely our strongest relationships are in and around the Midwest, University of Chicago, Northwestern, Loyola, and the surrounding areas. We have a heavy footprint in the Midwest, but we're truly a global organization. These are our 2025 numbers. Throughout the year, we worked with almost 300 startup organizations representing 75 cities and 11 countries. We have formal relationships with groups in South Korea and Canada. We've got companies from Israel, the UK, the Netherlands, Cyprus, Australia. So we really do work with companies from around the globe. The companies that are outside the US are usually a little bit more established. I don't know that we have any on the call today, but a little bit more established in their local markets, and they're looking to establish a presence in the US. And so we help them. Sometimes it might be evolving their business to better fit the US market, or just building connections, building relationships with US entities. Let's jump into the Matter experience. So our approach, we really look at helping you build your business. To be clear, we don't have developers, we don't have wet lab space. We really trust that you're building your product and you're the expert with your product. We really work to support you in building your business. So not only building business capabilities, fundraising support, getting you connected to a network of investors. Even though I shared we're not a fund in our community, we've got just over 270, I think it's 272 venture capital firms that we communicate with, and then learning from the best in healthcare. And so we work to connect you to a really deep network of industry experts, bringing forward not only best practices in industry, but also industry trends, right? Where we're seeing, the industry evolve, where we're seeing, we recently had some webinars on where the industry is going, changing trends, those sorts of things. The journey of Matter, we try and make this as simple as possible. We know that building a business, launching and growing a business in healthcare is complicated enough. We don't want to add to the complexity. So really simple. We have an online application. If we think there's a good fit, then we suggest an interview. We schedule some one-on-one time with you, get to know what you're building. More importantly, what you're looking for, the types of services, the support, where your company's going and how you might benefit from a membership in Matter. If we agree, and really we're looking for fit on both sides. You need to think, you need to believe Matter's as a good place for you as much as we think you're a good fit for Matter. So we really are looking for a good fit in both directions. If we, if everyone agrees there's good fit, then we roll out an onboarding process, ask you to fill out a quick assessment, just kind of gives you details on the company, do a quick 30-minute discovery session so we can really get you connected to the right resources within Matter as quickly as possible, and then you're off and running. From application to discovery session, we try and get that to fit within about 3 to 4 weeks. So that's usually a pretty quick process to get you up and into the ecosystem. A couple of different programs that we run, extensive mentoring and coaching. Every member company is assigned what we call an executive in residence, or an EIR. These are individuals with really broad experience across healthcare. There may be current or former health system operators. They might have been serial entrepreneurs themselves, having launched and exited a couple of companies. the relationship you have with your executive and residents, the intent is that it's a longitudinal relationship. As I mentioned, on average, about 28 months that we work with companies. Not uncommon that they have the same EIR throughout that entire journey. We really hope that they become, again, that longitudinal mentor advisor. For some of our earlier stage members, it's oftentimes the first real formal industry mentor that they have. So we really expect that you build a deep relationship. Obviously, if it's not a good fit, or if your company evolves or pivots and you need to get a different EIR, then we work with you to find a different EIR. But on average, we do see the same, the EIR work with you throughout your journey with Matter. The expert clinic, we have well over 100, I think it's about 140 or 150 mentors in the expert clinic. These are available to our portfolio companies. I'll use the term portfolio or member company interchangeably. These are available to you on a more ad hoc basis. They also have more domain-specific knowledge. So whereas the EIR are really generalists and understand the industry as a whole, experts in the expert clinic, they might be experts in regulatory or reimbursement. They might be experts in go-to-market strategy, privacy and data security, those sorts of things. So as you're encountering specific challenges within, across your journey, you can tap into those experts in the expert clinic. You have unlimited access to those mentors. Common usage that we see, though, you might meet, let's say, for example, it's a FDA regulatory question you have. You might meet with a mentor in the expert clinic 2 or 3 times, and then help solve your problem or help give the clarity you need for your regulatory strategy, and then you might never meet with them again, right? So you usually they parachute in to help you solve kind of point problems, point solutions, and then of course support from your Matter team. We've got 3 dedicated members of the Venture Acceleration team. Kay and Garrison, both joining the call today, have dotted lines into our team with operational support, marketing support. And then the broader Matter ecosystem is here to support you as well. Fundraising support, a very specific program that we run. It's really making sure that you're prepared to raise capital. It can be a very challenging journey. We have a group of I'm drawing an absolute blank. I apologize. I jumped from one. Garrison, K, Venture, help me out. What am I missing?
I think you're talking a bit about our investors that we work with, and then
No, but Jason, we've got a label for Jason. He's a
venture fellow.
Venture fellow. Oh my God, thank you. I had just a complete brain freeze. Venture fellows.
Just like EIR, but that's what you already said.
I know, no, but so venture fellows, these are individuals that have been successful in raising capital. They have funds themselves. And then our internal team, we work with you, everything from your pitch deck to making sure your pitch itself is really dialed in, ready to go. And when you are, we then showcase and broadcast your company to our community of investors. Wealth of on-demand resources, digital curriculum. This is a lot of, there's videos, white papers, sort of all the information you would ever need to build and scale a company in healthcare. Our professional services directory, to be clear, so this is a grouping of professionals available to you. You would contract with them separately, though. We've curated a list of companies. It could be like graphic designers. It could be folks that are really good around finance and accounting. We've curated that list. They're available to you. You would contract with them separately outside of your membership with Matter. So just to be clear, we try and make it easier for you to find those professionals. We have a trusted relationship with them. I believe most of them, if not all of them, offer preferred rates for Matter companies. So make it easier to find them, but that is separate from the membership. Knowledge library, mentor booking with Expert Clinic, that all happens through our portal, which you have access to as part of the membership. A dynamic community, member exclusive opportunities. We're running on a monthly basis, workshops, webinars. We work to bring, again, those best practices in industry experts. The one I think we most recently ran, it was a team from Northwestern University. They were speaking on how to engage or partner with academic institutions to increase the likelihood you will be successful in securing an SBIR grant. A lot of our early members, grant funding is a great way to get non-dilutive funding as you're building your product. So working with an academic institution, great way to do that. So just one example of the most recent event that we ran. For those of you that are in and around the Chicago area, we've got a gorgeous space in right downtown Chicago, co-working space, meeting rooms, event space, all available to you as members. Even our companies, about 50% of our US members are outside the Chicago area. We see them use the space in different ways, very creative, many of them fully remote companies. They come into the Matter space, come into Chicago. Chicago's a great city, centrally located. They'll come in for quarterly team meetings and use the space that way, right? So a lot of different ways that we see people use the space in Chicago. Membership tiers, we have 2 tiers. The select membership, $400 a month. That's pretty much the experience that I talked about so far is really covered in the select membership. Again, just a quick recap. You get the EIR, the expert clinic, team support, fundraising support, member exclusive opportunities, use of the member space in Chicago, as well as the others that I showcased. If you don't think that's a fit, or if you think you're a little bit too early for that, you're still framing your business, still thinking about, customer discovery type activities, maybe it's work, you need a little help kind of framing out your business model. We do offer what we call our Flex membership. It's completely free. Again, no equity, no fees, but it's really a digital first experience. So some of the tools that we talked about, the digital curriculum, the professional services directory, the knowledge library, are all available to you as part of the Flex membership. There is lightweight engagement in our expert clinic. We've graded out here, but I think we have about 15 experts in the expert clinic that have offered up their expertise, so you can kind of get a flavor of what that expert clinic is and meet with a few of the experts there as part of your Flex membership. And with that, I will stop sharing. That's sort of the high level of who Matter is and what we do. So I'll stop sharing and would welcome any comments, questions, again, general questions or questions specific about your business, but feel free to come off camera, off mic, and ask away.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I'm sorry I had to step out for a second. I'm Brian Weiner, and I have several little projects that I'm working on. How big is your company? How many people do work in Matter?
So always a tricky question. I love to answer that as any politician would with the most vague answer I can. We've got about 20 full-time staff. Most are based in Chicago. I'm actually based in Northern California, but spend time in Chicago. But then when you think of the Matter community, venture fellows, EIRs, expert clinic, that's about 200 individuals that are really committed and dedicated to supporting our members and succeeding. And then, the venture capital network that we have is about 270 venture capital groups that we communicate with. So, hundreds of folks directly connected to Matter.
I say thank you. Do you have an estimate of how successful you are? Like how many people walk away empty-handed?
Always a fantastic question and a really interesting one. We really look at success from multiple different angles, and this is going to be a really weird answer to your question. If we help an entrepreneur kill their business quickly, we actually consider that a success, right? If we get you, there are some businesses that just aren't going to succeed, and if we can get to that decision, if we can get to that faster, we consider that a great success. Now, obviously, I'm a little tongue in cheek. We like to see you succeed. I don't know that we have specific numbers just because success might be merging with another company, merging with another founder to pivot your business. It might be a successful exit. It might be successfully raising capital. So we've got no shortage of examples of companies that have been part of Matter that have gone on to have successful exits, successfully raise capital. But we really do look at success, a very broad definition of that, and that's getting you connected to a community to advance your business. Might be helping you find. We don't have a direct co-founder matching program, but not uncommon that we've seen founders within Matter meet other founders, and Coffee Co-working Connections, a program that Garrison kicked off. we've seen a few folks come into there and want a really strong technical person, want a really strong clinical person. They're like, hey, we should work together on something, right? So we're really about building relationships, connecting you to industry. We consider all of those successes. Again, I know a bit of a politician's answer, but we don't
Okay,
we don't
that's
consider
fair. Thank you.
an exit, you know. Hey, looks like you
Everyone.
came off mute. Yeah, hi.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Kate. Thanks for hosting this today. So, in the process, let's say you go through the assessment and it sounds like the idea someone's bringing is going to be a good fit. Um, in that discovery process, is there, amongst the experts, are there folks that are pretty well versed in on the legal side of things, just to make sure that as you're building the idea conceptually, you're keeping in mind any type of legal, loopholes that you might have to attend to later, particularly with HIPAA and things like that?
Grant, I was going to ask if you could share some examples, like what are the types of legal concerns that you're looking at?
Yeah,
Okay,
so I work in behavioral health. I have an idea
okay.
for a digital platform for behavioral health. But there are a lot of, especially with the transfer of data from one platform to another, that's sort of an area that I could use some guidance on. So just wondering if you think anyone in your expert team might have,
Yeah,
a background in that.
thank you for clarifying. Kate, where are you based out of? Where's your company?
I'm right out of Chicago.
Okay, I thought I was picking up a little Midwest accent in
Yeah,
there.
probably.
Fantastic. So the answer is an absolute yes. So within the one, we would work with you through the when we host our say it's a good fit, you apply. You say, hey, it's a good fit. You on board through the discovery session. We would look at what are those gaps that you have, key priorities that you have. We might work to align you with an EIR that has a
Okay.
really deep understanding of privacy and data security, maybe has built a digital health company. But then we also have a lot of folks in the expert clinic that are experts in that field that you could tap into. And then a
Great.
really close relationship with a number of legal firms, Cooley, Wilson Sonsini, Shepherd Mullen, all have experts. They're usually more than happy to meet with you, obviously just to provide sort of high level guidance. They cannot, just I think because of legal practice, they
Sure.
can't share legal advice. You would have to actually contract with them for that. But
Yeah.
no shortage of 65-70% of the companies we work with are digital health companies. And we've got our the expert in the expert clinic are really aligned to support digital health for sure.
Okay. Do you find, and maybe you're not able to answer this, but do you find that people typically will have an attorney that they're already working with or contracted with separately as they start moving into this membership and looking to really build further? Or is it just kind of depends case by case?
We have very much case by case, and now probably tapping into more. I've been chipping away at healthcare innovation for almost 30 years. I've worked with well over 100 startups. Most engaged legal too late is actually my observation.
Oh, okay.
Well, just be it's not cheap.
No, it's not, but it's part of the path. I've already started venturing down that path and I haven't actually, committed to any one
Yeah, it's
person,
money
but
well spent, whether it's on IP, whether it's on I'll just share one example. It was a company that they weren't part of Matter actually, but I was working with them. They were probably 6 months into a conversation with the health system, and they thought things were going well until they finally met with the health system's legal team, and the deal essentially got shut down because the legal structure of the company and some of the legal elements that they should have tended to weren't there. They
yeah,
wasted 6 months of conversation with that health system. If you stack that up against a couple $1,000s, and sometimes it could be tens of thousands of dollars of legal fees. Those fees seem pretty small after 6 months of wasted time.
for sure. Yeah.
So it is a part of it. Whether it's setting up if you have a like a PC MSO structure you're looking to build, doing that well up front can really help you avoid mistakes down the road. And that's Brian, getting to your question of success. Those are the elements that if we can help a company really structure their business legally in the correct way, then we consider that a success. I mean, the reality, and I don't want to, discourage anybody, but venture capital firms, they look at a 10% success rate as a big win, right? That's the industry you're in, right? Most companies are going to fail. It is a very tricky business. So if we based our definition of success solely on the companies that have successful exits, we'd be fooling ourselves. So, Kate, yeah, absolutely deep resources there. Happy to make introductions with a number of really strong teams. Many of them local in Chicago. So happy to connect you to the right resources.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Fidel, Will, Raj, ML, I just have initials, so I can't call you out by name.
Hi, Mike. I'm Will Kesters. I'm curious if you could touch on a bit more kind of what the VC members of Matter find most useful with their membership.
Can you clarify when you said VC?
Any venture capital firms or investors that are kind of involved, what's kind of their just biggest takeaway in the process or what they find most useful?
Yeah, so what we really work, as you guys can imagine, deal flow for venture capitalists is a big part of what they do. They're always out looking for great companies. We really work to curate really deep relationships. Of the 270 venture capital firms, I'd say about 30. We have more of an internal labeling, but we call our Catalyst Network. We work with them to build deep relationships, understand their investment thesis at a deep level, work to make sure if we put a company in front of them, when we talk about the fundraising support program, if we put companies in front of them, we've actually vetted them really, we don't want to waste time, for the venture capitalist or the entrepreneur, right? So we want to make sure those meetings are really successful. So they really value being part of the community. They trust that if it's a company we're recommending or suggesting, that we think it's a really good fit for them, so we can help them, help save time for them, help align better deals for them. When you talk about, if your question was more general about like what deals are they seeing or what are they excited about, they really cover the gamut. We got a lot of VCs that look to only invest in companies that are in the payer space, only in the provider space. Some are really looking for direct to consumer solutions. Some are only focused on digital health. Some on women's health. So and that's why we have such a large number of VCs. They really do cover the full breadth of healthcare and healthcare investing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
What they're looking for, in short, they're usually looking for just great founders, that you're solving a great problem, that you've validated that problem, right? You have data to back it up. It's not just a great idea. You've got some level of customer validation done. You've gone out and done the hard work to talk to customers and put some numbers around your business. That's what they're looking for, especially at the earliest stages. Any other? Fidel, I saw you off mute.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'd like to apologize because I always like to see or show my face on a Zoom meeting, but it's been a while and I don't know. I look everywhere. I don't know where to turn the camera on.
No worries. We can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, but anyways, but 3 years ago, I had a grandson in the hospital that was intubated right after he was born, and he was on the ventilator for 8 months. So being there with him almost every day, I invented a device for children on the ventilators, so get some not to be restrained as harsh as they are right now. So I applied for a patent, and I was granted the patent a week ago. And but I'm not a business person, and I was suggested to license it to Medline, but before go there, ask for your help. So that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. So, one, I hope your grandson came out of it okay. I know that can be an incredibly challenging time, especially with the little ones.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good to hear. And I think I shared this in my email response to you, but for example, CTIP, Consortium for Technology and Innovation in Pediatrics, we collaborate with them. We've actually just a new EIR. I think he literally just signed up. Is an expert in pediatric medicine. He's a physician, wants to get more involved in entrepreneurs and innovation. So we have a handful of experts really familiar with pediatric medicine. And Medline they actually occupy the 12th floor of the Merchandise Mart, the same building that we're in. It is tricky to just get a patent and license it. They want to see you actually build a business around it. That's something we can help you with. They want to know how big the market is. They want to know the customers want to actually use the product. And they expect you to do that work before they would enter any real, solid conversations around licensing a product.
Yeah.
So
Well,
those are the areas that we can help. We're not inventors, we're not engineers, but we have a lot of experts that can help you with your business.
Okay, see, when I went through all this stuff, my grandson was at Lowry's Hospital, and they let me use it. They let me use the device after I went through all the prototyping and stuff. My grandson was able to use it for about 2 to 3 months, so it's already been tested, and I know there's still gotta go some R&D. But so at this point, I can take any help I can get.
Yeah, so not only from an R&D standpoint, I'd imagine getting clarity on your regulatory pathway, getting through the FDA. We've got a number of experts in the expert clinic that can help guide you on that. What the correct regulatory pathway is. Things like reimbursement. The American Medical Association has been a longtime partner of Matter. Their corporate office is literally 3 blocks down the river from us. Understanding reimbursement, how your product would get paid for, those are all the things that potential licensing partner would want to see, and those are things, resources that we have within Matter that can help you help frame out your business. So it's not just about the product, it's about what's the business opportunity, and we absolutely have experts that can help you.
So what would be my next step? Sign up for a membership?
Yeah, the next step for for probably most everyone here, if you think that what Matter offers would be a good fit for you, would encourage you to submit an application that's available on our website. Garrison, I think you'll usually follow up with an email with all those links. In fact, he's even faster. It's right there in the chat. The application itself should take you probably no more than 5-10 minutes to fill out. No obligation on your part. It just tees up a review process and an interview workflow that allow us to spend some time one-on-one talking to you just about your specific needs. And now I'm talking to everyone, that not just Fidel, but if you think there's a good fit, would encourage you to submit an application. Just gives it, as I said, tees up an interview workflow so we can get some time scheduled with you, talk one-on-one about your business, about how Matter can support you, and then from that, if it's a good fit, we'd go to the onboarding workflow.
Okay, thank you.
And then the interviews, application probably 5-10 minutes. Interviews, we try and keep those to about 30 minutes. Again, no obligation on your part just because you submit an application. There are no used car salesmen employed here at Matter. There's no hard sell. We're a nonprofit, we're a community. It's got to be a fit. So that's what we're really looking for. So as I said, no obligation by submitting the application.
After you fill up the application, how soon will you get the interview?
So we review applications as a team. We try to do it Tuesday and Thursdays. So you'll hear back from us if you submit the application, usually within a couple of days at most, and then it's up to you. We see some folks schedule an interview the next day. It's really up to your schedule, but usually try and get the interview within a week or so. And then after the interview, same thing. We do another review as a team on Tuesday and Thursdays. So we try and get a response to you within a couple of days after the interview. We try and keep that whole process to within about 2 to 3 weeks.
And will the interview be virtual?
Absolutely, yeah. Most everything we do, obviously those that are in Chicago that can benefit from the Matter facility, the Matter space, we love when you can take advantage of that. But again, a reminder, 70% of our members are either rest of the US or even outside the US. So virtually everything we do is virtual. Yeah. So no requirement for those of you that aren't in Chicago, no requirement that you are in Chicago. There's some sort of, some slight additional benefits just because that's where we're located. But absolutely all the meetings with your EIR, meetings with the expert clinic, the member exclusive events, all of those are virtual, done by Zoom.
Thank you again.
Absolutely. We're getting close to time. Any other closing questions? Happy to address. If not, feel free to reach out, directly, for any follow-on questions. If you're still kind of questioning if Matter's a good fit for you or not. But if you think if we're close enough, then I'd say put in an application and let's just spend some one-on-one time talking specifically about your company to make sure there's a good fit. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the questions. Sometimes we get some really quiet groups, so I really appreciate the questions and the conversation. And hopefully look forward to collaborating with some of you here in the future.